watching a nudibranch swim is kind of like watching a drag queen sneeze in space. Like, it's just sort of aimless, colorful flopping.
Oh, welcome.
Welcome back.
Back yet again.
Back yet again to Whyte Noise.
How did this happen?
I don't know. I think I hit record and I just slipped and hit the record button. It's crazy how that happens. I am so excited. Today we're talking about nudibranchs. Which I think I said that right. We have our fabulous guest, Lexi Reinhardt. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did. You said
Okay, great. Because you would know, as you are a sea slug expert.
Yes, I like to think I am. I'm a grad student studying sea slug brains and behavior specifically.
So fun.
Yeah. So this afternoon, I'm actually going to go take photos of snail brains.
So wait, are you going to take a photo of the brain still in the slug, or has the brain been taken out of the slug?
So the brain's been taken out, and they're tiny, but they're like actually really big for, you know, how few cells they have in it. And so we can like take photos of different chemicals in the brain, like serotonin or like dopamine and things like that, to figure out like what each cell in the brain does. And so we can then like put that onto like what happens in humans and stuff like that.
I saw something in my kind of research around seahorses as well.
Oh, I don't know, like about their brains?
Maybe I just got this completely wrong, but there was something in there about working with like a not-for-profit that focuses on seahorses.
Yes. So that was like, wow, I think that was like, what, 6 years ago now? But
My research is good. What can I say?
It was like,
You're like, I've moved on. I've moved to seahorses. Bah.
yeah, there's Project Seahorses, this like organization that works mainly with trying to like protect different seahorse species, but mainly focusing on fishing. So they're trying to like stop mainly dredging that just destroys their environments. And so I volunteered with them for I think like 2 years in undergrad. So it's been a while since I did that, but they're still going. They do great work. I really like working with them. Their stuff is really cool. Yeah.
Outside of work, you're a big fan of photography and pottery.
Yes. So I do quite a bit of underwater photography, focusing on small little guys. I just really like taking like photos of things that people are like, how did you see that? But I also do some pottery with like a local like arts house here. And so I help run courses sometimes. But yeah, one of my photos just got accepted into like one of our like science funding things in Canada.
Yeah, you were on the cover of Canadian Journal for Zoology.
Yes.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And so there's also a photo contest for the funding and agency as well for another photo that I took that I'm a finalist in. And so there's voting open for that as well. But yeah.
You have to share where to vote so people go vote for you.
Yeah, shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless away.
All the shameless plugs. I mean, go for it.
And I was going to say, you also, a recent accolade is you received the Cassie Lindsay Award for Best Student Presentation. Did I get that?
Yes. So I just did a presentation at a conference, like 3 weeks ago, and I won Best Presentation, which was surprising, but an amazing opportunity. And so I think mine was really engaging. I had a lot of jokes in it, and I think that contributed largely to my win, because they were like, wow, what jokes?
What was the top joke? Like, what was the one that like took the house down?
I was looking at the speed of the slugs, and normally people would put it in like, I don't know, like millimeters a minute because they move so slowly, and I put it in kilometers per hour, and they thought that was really funny. It was like 0.00001 kilometers per hour, and they all thought that was very funny. And so
Also, I do enjoy on your Insta, which is fabulous to follow, Sea Slug Scientist, at Sea Slug Scientist. that you prank your students sometimes.
Yeah.
Is this true?
It was
Like,
true. And I got some comments from some of them and they were like, I'll never trust my TA again. Like, yeah, that was really funny. We essentially just found like a mushroom washed up on the shore, and the instructor and I were like, "Hey, this kind of looks like a sea sponge. What if we told all the students that it was like a mystery animal and that they had to figure out what it was?" And they spent like a week trying to figure out what it was, like looking through, pulling books from the library. They started feeding it at one point and they were like, "Hey, I think I can see it eating." And I was like, "Oh yeah." And then they were like, "Oh, we need to give it like an air source so it doesn't like suffocate." And I was like, "Yeah." And then at one point I was like, I was just felt bad, so I had to be like, it's a mushroom, like it's not a sea animal." And they were so bad, but it was fun.
Are you like, which one of you said you saw it eating? You're out. No.
yeah.
Immediate fail, yeah.
And none of them guessed that it was a mushroom. All of them were like, for sure, this is a living thing.
Yeah, they were convinced that it was a sea animal, and I felt bad that they trusted me so much, and I just like, broke all their trust.
Today, we're not talking about mushrooms. We're talking about nudibranchs, which that is how you say it, right? I keep wanting to say nudibranches, which again, that's probably a very different thing. It's a branch full of naked people.
Nudibranch. Did I say nudibranch earlier? I probably did.
I think people say it both ways. Personally, like I don't see any point in like being that picky about it. Like I'm like, say it however you want to say it.
Sluggy nudes.
Yeah.
Which you get to choose which one of us goes first.
Okay.
So Ryan or me, now that you've gotten to know us oh so well.
Oh yeah. Best friends already.
I think Ryan should go first because they're dressed nicer.
There you go.
I always end
To
up going
be fair, for people just listening, I am in pajamas, a hoodie, and a baseball hat because I just rolled out of bed. And Ryan clearly has been up, looks fresh, very handsome, and isn't rocking a very nice polo. So,
What can I say?
but honestly, for those listening, the one who's winning the fashion, real quick, the fashion parade today is Lexi.
Oh, 100%.
Fantastic earrings and a kick-ass kelp outfit that is so cute. So just for the record, if this was a fashion show, you've already won.
Yeah, Lexi wins.
Thank you.
But Ryan, you're a close second, and I am many kilometers behind. All right, Ryan, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, your time starts now.
All right. Nudibranchs. So, by the way, it actually stands for naked gills, and they're part of gastropods, is the broader family, and essentially a group of, can I say animals? Is that fair? That essentially abandon their shells at a given point in time. And there are gastropods that have like a semi-hard shell, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I just kind of looked up what I thought some of the cool things were about them. But Lexi, I also happen to know that you talk a lot about your neurodivergence, ADHD. Mm-hmm. And I discovered in this whole thing, there's a very close relationship between what we know about ADHD today and gastropods, which is really pretty cool. And that's probably my main focal point. The main reason that they're studied in a lot of neurosciences is a little bit about what we touched about before, is that their neurons are really large and can be observed rather easily under a microscope, but also even sometimes just visually. And they're easily distinguished by their color, and it's easy, or not easy, but easier to attach electrodes to them to understand what they're doing. They also have, I just think, some very interesting, outside of the neurosciences, some other kind of entertaining qualities. Their bright colors usually are indicative of the fact that they're poisonous or dangerous or whatever else. But I don't know, maybe you can correct me on this, but it seems like none of them are innately poisonous. They actually consume the poisons from either jellyfish or from anemones. And they're kind of like the Marie Kondo of it. They're like, does this toxin bring me joy? And if it does, they just keep it, and then they use it to protect themselves.
Yeah, so some of them eat sea sponges, and so they steal the like protective chemicals that are like bad for other animals from the sea sponges to make themselves poisonous. But then some of them eat things like anemones or jellyfish, and then they steal the stinging things from those animals and make themselves, stinging themselves. And so it's actually really complicated because the stinging cells are essentially this little harpoon with a spring underneath it. Like they're super tiny, but there's like this whole process that they have to do to like not trigger it from releasing so that they can save it for themselves, like to use.
Maybe that's why they're so slow. They're just very, very careful.
Listen, if I had poison in my body, I'd move pretty slowly.
So luckily, most of the time, the ones that they're eating aren't harmful to humans. So I think there's only like one or like a few that if you touch them, will actually hurt you like a jellyfish would. But I've definitely had some where, because if you pick them up and touch them too much, they just like get rid of their gills. They're just like, okay, like they're
done with this.
Just, yeah, like they just get rid of them and then their back's like totally empty. Like they're just like this smooth body back. And then they attach and then they try and sting your hand. And I'm like, but I don't feel anything. So it's just like, you just lost all your gills and I can't breathe. Like,
wait, why did they get rid of their gills?
Just like they think if they get rid of them, the predators will try and eat those instead of them because they can grow them back later.
Do they just breathe less or do they like die?
I think a little bit of both. I think they breathe less if possible, and then sometimes they die.
Because that feels like a crazy strategy. That would be like somebody trying to mug me and I take out my lungs and throw them. And I'm just like, get those.
Here, have my arm.
That's exactly what happens though. And so they're just trying to what
an interesting strategy.
I would say the other kind of cool quality about them is that they're hermaphrodites. And I did like a little bit of light research into it. And basically what happens is for the booty call, they line up head to tail. And apparently it's usually a mutual experience where they both secrete sperm in hopes that maybe they impregnate each other. But there are also ones that, depending on the environment they're in and if the species where being the mom is more costly, some of them at times will do a sperm dump and run. So they get close and it's not a mutual situation. They're just like, here's all of it. And then they run away.
Yeah, pretty much. There's so many different ways. Like what I've seen that really makes me laugh is when I put them, if I'm holding them separately and then put them together, they just immediately start mating. Like they're like, oh, I've been away, separated from others too long, And so what happens is if you have 3 of them though, the 2 will circle each other and mate, and then the third one will just kind of be there with its sperm and just be like, hey, can I maybe get in there?
Oh, the little that nudie voyeur, really.
Yeah. And so it's pretty funny, but some of their whole mating dances are over 3 hours.
Oh wow.
It's crazy. Yeah, they just slowly circle each other and then get closer and closer, and then and it's really silly watching it sometimes. But sometimes it's only 3 seconds, which is funny.
Sounds like dating in my 20s. But how much time do I have, Michael? So I know, do I have to
3 minutes.
So Eric Kandel is the one who won the Nobel Peace Prize for his study of neurons in Ellipsia. I think that's right, which is also a gastropod and is in the same family as Nudibranchs. Mm-hmm. But a little bit different, but same sort of qualities, very visible neurons. And what's kind of cool about this is that, so what he discovered, I'll go through it really quick, is that in short-term memory, and if we think about short-term memory, it's we remember a phone number long enough to dial it, and then it's poof, it's gone. We don't remember it again. And essentially that happens as a result of turning up chemical volume within the neurons that we have. So we're not actually creating new pathways. Long-term memory or durable memory can last hours to years. It requires growth of new synaptic connections between neurons and new gene expression and protein synthesis to build more roads between neurons, which then creates lasting memories. And he discovered that repetitive behaviors actually reinforce. So repetition, emotion and practice repetition build stronger neural connections, right? So this guy was working on this stuff from the 60s to the 90s, in which, in 2000 is when he won the Nobel Peace Prize. But essentially his work ended up being the compass for what a lot of other neuroscientists and behavioral scientists have used to understand human behavior and how we work. In the realm of ADHD, right, an individual who has ADHD, and you can you come in and be like, no.
Okay.
But working memory is basically like our mental whiteboard. And for someone with ADHD, it's either too small, smudged, or occasionally on fire. And it just means that it's hard to hold multiple thoughts at once.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is I just talked about the fact that Kendall, I think, did I say his name wrong already?
No.
My short-term memory misfiring as we speak.
Yeah.
Basically, said that like being able to create and hold long-term thoughts means having repetition and having strong association. If your whiteboard isn't capable of keeping that repetition in place, then it's much harder to establish long-term memories. So with, unsustained attention, not being able to filter out various directions or prioritizing what's worth remembering, it kind of like breaks down. So from there, we have three other key scientists that basically use this compass to establish other deeper insights. And I'll quickly share the three and I'll call it quits. So we had Barkley in basically the 90s, who was able to study and understand that ADHD is related to challenges with executive function and working memory. That's that whiteboard piece. Then in the early 2000s, we have Volkow, who was able to study that less dopamine in the reward circuits. So ADHD brains actually crave dopamine. And that, and then Brown in the 2010s to currently is how it's affected by emotions and motivational systems, and how boring things are just a no. There's got to be emotion and engagement and interest to be effective, and that high pressure situations are actually better because they help bring that focus, they help bring that emotion that then help establish deeper memories. Mm-hmm. So I think it's pretty incredible that nudibranchs or gastropods are in reality the whole reason that we know as much as we do now about, actually, I think not just ADHD, but a lot of other neurodivergence, which is really pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like, that's great. My supervisor's supervisor, he was working with sea slugs, and they were really trying to figure out what each neuron did. What was its actual function? When was it actually working as a cell? And he opened up the brain of a sea slug and saw that you could see them with your naked eye, which was one of the first, animals with neurons where you could just literally take the probe and stick it on the neuron without using a microscope. And so, that along with their work just, opened up so many doors, because we could learn things about neurons that we just weren't really able to do before, because they were just so big and so easy to pinpoint, but also they have so few neurons. So they have 10,000, while I think we have almost 100 million or something. It's crazy. But even in the sea slugs, we're taking these photos, and so we label chemicals like dopamine with a fluorescent dye, essentially. So it when we take photos, it lights up, and so we can tell where those chemicals are in the neurons. And the neurons where they are change between individuals. So it's so weird. They have 9 little brains essentially in a ring, the slugs. The same cell will be in different ones, just randomly between individuals, with no explanation. And so it's just even in slugs who have 10,000 neurons, they're even like, even their brains are different between each other. Like, and so it's amazing that we can apply that to human brains that are so much more complex and so much bigger. The brains are like I can't even, like, they're like that big when we pull them out.
Is that part of what drew you to the space, or drew you into marine biology and then specifically nudibranchs?
100%. Yeah. It's like this like crazy intersection between like brains, but then how do brains cause behavior? Like, we know a little bit about how cells in the brain work, but we don't really know much about how that then causes someone to do something, or like, why does my brain make me react or think differently than someone else? Like, we barely know anything about that. And so that's kind of where my interest started.
Michael, are you ready?
Oh, sure.
Ready, set, go.
Hi, Lexi. Hi. It's so nice to meet you. Welcome to my presentation. I'm not going to win that award that you did. So this was actually a trickier one for me in a way. As you've seen, Ryan usually does very deep research.
I just rabbit hole is really what happens. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. I'll go that way.
And I love a good rabbit hole moment. But a lot of times it's like, what does this make me think of? What memory? Unfortunately, I have no memories with nudibranchs. So I actually, unfortunately for me, attempted to do research. But one thing, just to start out for people listening, which I don't think we said, but nudibranchs are, I guarantee you have seen them. They are gorgeous. They are basically the drag queens of the sea, in my opinion. Like, if Lady Gaga was a marine creature, it is a nudibranch. And there are over 3,000 different species, right? There are many.
Yeah, there's too many.
Too many. And they're all, well, at least the ones I've seen are gorgeous. Like, I love, there's a fun Google if you put in just like nudibranchs and Met Gala, or like nudibranchs fashion, and people will put a nudibranch next to like a celebrity in an amazing but like really funky gown.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to play the game of who wore it better. And in my brain, always the nudibranch wins.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, gee.
Oh, obviously. The colors and the textures, they're just absolutely gorgeous. And watching them also try and swim, I think, is one of the cutest things ever. Because they just sort of like flop around. So you have this like beautiful thing that is not graceful at all. Like, how I imagine, and somebody else said something similar, it's like watching a nudibranch swim is kind of like watching a drag queen sneeze in space. Like, it's just sort of aimless, colorful flopping. But it is really cute and adorable watching this incredibly exquisite thing move very inefficiently. It's a good laugh. One thing, though, that I think is sad, considering how absolutely stunning they are, and I know it's for different reasons. Like, sometimes it's to be like, I'm poisonous, don't eat me, because I'm so colorful and fun. Or some it's just camouflage, where they're just like blending into whatever. And they do, like, some of them like brilliantly blend into their environment.
Yeah.
But they're colorblind, aren't they? They really can't see, right? Aren't they essentially blind?
They're so blind. They're each of their eyes, at least in the one that I work with, is like 5 cells. And it's under their skin and on top of their brain.
Why do they even have eyes?
So there's some evidence that shows that some of them will, if you have a white screen with a black bar, they'll move towards it. They don't know why they do that or what that could be for. But the reason why they probably have like such small eyes is because they really just need to know like light versus dark. So maybe they want to go up or go down. Because underwater, it's kind of hard to tell normally, and so if they want to like get out of a crevice, they need to know where is it lighter to get out.
Or like, there's a lot of light there. That's a big open bare space. Maybe I shouldn't go there.
Yeah,
as exactly. I did ditch my shell when I was but a wee baby nudibranch.
Yeah,
Or
And
once
so
they sperm dump, they need to know where to run. They're like,
Right. Aim for the
Exactly.
dark.
Yeah. Well, because sometimes they also, after they mate, try and eat each other, so they need to know how to get away from
oh,
each other.
I did see that they're very carnivorous.
Yeah.
I
So
think they just will eat anything, is what I've learned.
so it depends. So some of them will only eat one thing, some of them will eat anything, and only a few of them will eat each other. But the one that I
Okay.
work with does eat each other. But so because they can't see, they're mostly just using smell to find their food. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of like what my work focuses on, is like, how do they use smell to find their food? And are they also using like flow movement to guide that as well?
Oh,
So,
interesting. I was wondering, like, how, because it's, well, obviously 3,000 species, so they probably hunt differently.
mhm,
And obviously some eat very different things. But I was kind of wondering how they do track prey. Because I
mhm,
read how they track each other when they want to mate. Like, a lot of them find their, like, trail, I
mhm.
guess. Like, they can sense their, like, sludgy trail. And they
Yeah,
just kind of follow it until they catch up to one. And then they, like, bump into its butt. And they're just like, oh, there it is.
yeah.
And then they have to find its and then they have to find its right side, right? Because they like it's the two right sides that they
Yeah,
made on where they send their little penis barb out.
yeah.
And then it's more of like a penis high five than it is like sex. They're just like, hey bro.
And sometimes there's like fencing that happens to
I read about penis fencing.
yeah, to see which one, because they want to inseminate the other one, but they don't want to be inseminated. So if they can inseminate the other one and then run away quickly, that's the best
Yeah.
that they want to do.
So again, Ryan, early 20s behavior. But yeah, they're like sword fighting
Yeah.
with their little nudibranch penises, which I guess is like infamous in the underwater world.
There's also it gets worse. So I don't think this happens in nudibranchs, but in gastropods, so like the bigger group, there's also love darts, which are these like little like hard calcareous darts filled with sperm that they will like stab each other with. And then it just not even like in anywhere, just like in the body wall. And then if they want to, they'll like use it to fertilize their eggs, but if they don't want to, they'll just digest it.
Could you imagine if we had that? If like people had little sperm spears and they're just like running down the street and you just get like stuck with one?
like,
That'd
oh,
be- like you're like, oh damn. Well, I went out for a jog and got pregnant. Like
No,
it's
at least you get dinner though, with
or
that.
you're like, this one was delicious.
that's true. I guess yeah. Instead of, you could potentially just eat it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I did read about the penis battles though. I thought that was
Mhm.
really funny with their little like penis sword fights, but
Yeah.
like little nudibranch version. And also, well, speaking of their penises, they're hooked, right? So sometimes the penis gets stuck in the other one, so they just break it off.
No. I don't
Oh,
know. I have not heard
ow.
of that. I'm not saying no, but in
That
my
might be only certain species.
it's like this little it's like a little light bulb looking thing. It's weird.
Oh, some have like little hooks, and so once it get in, they hook the other one. So
Oh,
also, I think maybe it can't get away, but then it stays in there. So then they just like break it off,
Oh.
and then they just leave it in the other slug.
I don't know what's going to happen with my Google ads and whatever else, but I did just Google nudie penis.
Oh, yeah.
I got lots of images.
Oh, I'm sure. I watched a video of nudibranch mating, and it was very slow. It took a while. But like once they got there, it was weirdly kind of fascinating to watch, and they both got each other. So
Yeah.
and I read that sometimes too they'll store, since they have a penis and a vagina, they'll store their penis in their own vagina. Like they'll sort of like pop it in there.
Yeah.
Which don't judge. But it just seems like, I mean, if the glove
Well,
fits, like
Say, if you had both, I mean, wouldn't you kind of be like, I wonder
Right?
how,
Yeah.
like,
Curious,
give it a-
you know?
some
Give this a
positive
go.
exploration.
Yeah.
yeah.
But they can't impregnate themselves. Like you can't, and it can't. It's not like one of those creatures where it can like.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that they can reproduce asexually, so that I don't think that they can just like make a bunch themselves, but they can store sperm for 7 times that they lay eggs, and they can lay like 100,000 eggs each time. So
Oh,
like
wow.
one mating could result in like almost 1 million babies.
How often do they mate? Because it seems like if that's the case, you don't want them doing it like every day.
I know.
As pretty as nudibranchs are, we don't need.
Yeah.
You don't want to go crazy.
Sounds like a terrible family reunion.
A lot of child support.
Oh, just looking around like, I don't know any of their names.
They mate more than we thought they were going to. We thought it would be kind of rare, but it kind of just happens all the time. It seems like they're just, doing...
Horny little bastards, huh?
Because then they eat each other. And then I'm like, why are you doing this? You don't need to do this. And they're like, I must. Like,
well, I have more reason to try and figure out the behavior. You're like, this makes no sense.
Is there one that tends to eat? Like, is it the younger one always eats the older one? Or like, what's the... Like, who ends up being the loser in that situation?
So, just quickly, that's what we're trying to figure out, because they can't see, so how can they tell who's bigger or, like, who's older? So, we definitely... I saw that there was, like, one individual that would, like, try and eat, like, 5 individuals. And so, like, it might just be like, oh, like, I'm going to be predatory today and I'm going to eat a bunch of my buddies. But we don't really know, actually. Like,
actually, it might even be brothers and sisters. Like, hey, I'm just going to consume my kin.
Jeez.
And so, we don't know, because, like, how do they, if they are bigger ones eating smaller ones, how could they tell if they were smaller? Because they can't see, right?
Yeah. Oh, wait, one more fact that I'll leave us with that I found fascinating is never French kiss a nudibranch because their tongue is covered in teeth and it will mess you up. That was my biggest takeaway, other than the fact that their butt is surrounded by their gills, which sounds like a rough day if you have a nudibranch fart. But like that their tongues are covered in teeth, which is also as beautiful as they are. They're just like a little terrifying in that respect. And I don't know if that's every species, but at least some of them.
I say, so it's like 99% of them have teeth. I think there's a few species that don't have teeth. But they have 10,000 teeth at any one point in time. And they look like, which is like, sharks have like 300 and they can have as much as like almost like 1 million teeth in their life.
Good Lord.
Oh, wow.
So they're gorgeous, but terrifying up close.
Yeah. And they look like shark teeth.
Why no one has made this horror movie, I don't know.
I don't know.
All right. Now you get the fun job of choosing a winner, whatever that means to you.
I think it has to be Ryan, just because I feel like you did such a deep dive, and you really got into the neurobiology, and that's what I'm really interested in. I'm sorry, Michael.
It's okay. I shall sashay away yet again.
Well, thank you very much.
I did. I'm with you on that. I thought the connection with the ADHD was fascinating. That was very cool.
But if I had an award, I would give it to both of you.
Oh, thank you. And our topic for next week.
Yeah, where are we going next week?
Okay, I think because I'm wearing the kelp clothing today, I think you should do kelp. I think.
Great.
I love kelp.
Yeah. One of my favorite fun facts about kelp is that one of them, they have like a float, and in the float is carbon monoxide, which can like kill things. And there was a scientist that determined experimentally that there's enough to kill a chicken.
Oh, whoa.
In kelp?
Chickens. Yep. In one kelp, you could kill a chicken. He also worked with, I think, gerbils or hamsters. So that can be your jumping off point.
That poor chicken.
Murdering chickens in kelp.
I hope he ate it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lexi. Remind people where they can follow you and
how do they vote?
All the things. And and where they can, and all the shameless plugs. Go for it.
Yes.
Shameless plugs starting now. Okay. I am really mostly just on Instagram at SeaSlugScientist. And then, it's the NSERC, NSERC Science Exposed contest. And the photo is called Coral Connoisseur because the slugs that I work with mostly eat coral. And so there's a photo of the slug eating coral.